Welcome to Art One-on-One. I am your pod boss, Nicole Jordan, alongside your professional artist, master educator, and America's favorite art teacher, Mr. Burgher.
It's really complicated going live and all.
It is. It's kind of
as
nerve-wracking.
as we are going live. I'm kind of trying to keep track of where we're at so I can see the chats and I can chat without all of that. So if you are involved in the live viewing of what we have going on, you know, feel free to chat and text away. But if you see this later on, well, you can't. So the bonus goes to the folks that happen to be with us in the live.
And I don't think it's called texting. You comment.
Yeah, the chat,
Yeah,
the chit chat,
the chat feature.
and it's Cinco de Mayo, and so I thought we would, instead of having a produced thing, like we've done this a couple of different ways. We've done it in the afternoons. We've done it, well, now we're in the evening, obviously, because
Yes.
this is the evening. But different, just trying different ways of doing this. This obviously was not pre whatever. So anyway,
Pre-planned. This was
right,
kind of on a whim because we
you're
were
right,
busy this week and
right.
lots
So I
going
just
on.
thought we would, Cinco de Mayo it up,
We both
and
have our drinks. I have a wild berry margarita.
there you go. And I have a strawberry thing,
That's pretty good too.
and we're just going to enjoy our festivities. And
We did nothing today for Cinco de Mayo.
we cleaned the garage.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, but I'm saying we didn't go have Mexican or well, we're having margaritas now, or I'm having margarita. But
Anyway,
what in the art world, what does Cinco de Mayo make you think of?
it doesn't make me think of anything.
No artists, no,
Not really.
no.
I mean, I think when you think of Cinco de Mayo or any sort of, cultural event, you think of people from that culture. So like Frida
That's
Kahlo
who came to my
or
mind.
Salvador Dali or someone like, Pablo Picasso, people that are from Spain, people that are from Mexico, Diego Rivera, uh, you know, on and on and on.
Yeah.
You can look at them as an example of, what's up. But
There was an artist yesterday. So yesterday you did your first art show in a while.
yeah, it's been a
Minute. It's
minute or
been a hot
two
minute.
since I've done an art show, and so there was a little thing. A buddy of mine who is actually um, Mr. Go Lightly from a neighboring school in the Des Moines area, who was actually a student teacher under me, had mentioned that he was going to do this event, and it looked like a good event. And I thought, well, I got some new types of things coming out. Let's see what the reception is on these works. And needless to say, we had a pretty good day.
Yeah, it was
We
a busy. I mean, that
There
was
were
a hopping place.
good stream of people. They had live music. They had a lot of things going on. But then they had indoor events and outdoor events and food and lots of different things. But at the end of the day, people came. People didn't just come to browse around. People were coming and they were spending money. And
Supporting the local artists, which I think
yeah,
is so cool. Like, and connecting with them.
right. And it's a network, and that was also the cool thing. There was a couple fellows that I ran into. There was one in particular. His name was Charles. That toward the end of the event, he was talking to some other people, and I was in a room on the opposite side of the place, and I heard him say something about pro wrestling,
Oh, goodness.
and so I was like, "What?" Because I had gone in there and looked at his stuff, but nothing like pro wrestling had really. I didn't really catch my eye, and so he had some pro wrestling prints, of which I did he gave me one at no charge.
Nice.
But he talked about, because we started talking about our podcast, and so I was like, hey, I'm a follower of the Kevin Nash podcast. He watches another one with Billy Ray and another podcast that I don't really watch a whole lot. But I was like, you gotta check out the Kevin Nash Click This podcast, and if you watch some of the archives, you might catch Mr. Burgher, because I'm a constant regular of questions for the big man. At any rate.
Well, the reason why I brought that up is because there was an artist there that some of her works reminded me of Frida Kahlo.
Really? Who?
Yeah, I don't know. It was I don't know. I don't know who it was, but she was outside. Did you walk around outside?
Before the event started, I walked around outside a little bit, and the only reason that I had was two reasons. There was one artist who was a former student of Mr. Golightly, and he introduced me to her because he's like, she was like, obviously he had an influence on her work, and he wanted me to, see, like, this is the guy that got me into the art teacher game. And there was a guy that was like a Muppets dude.
I did see, yes,
and he had like this van that was painted like the Muppets, the Electric Mayhem, and it was spray painted. So cool. It said Mayhead on the thing, and he had a jacket with the Muppets on it. And I thought, this is a guy that I should probably hang out with. But
well, and the cool thing that you did learn, so you had a lot of different art there, some stuff that you made quite a while back, and then the best seller for you, which was way cool, was the most recent stuff that you're doing.
Right, like there was a lot of old stuff that I was like, just I'll get rid of that stuff. Which there was a lot of interest. A lot of people were,
Yep.
But the biggest sellers of the day were the things that I was doing with the maps and all of that. And those were, and I was kind of talking about some series and things like that are coming up. And anyway.
Well, all right. Well, let's jump into our very first segment, Ask the Art Guides.
Ask the Art Guides.
I have pulled a card, and
the other thing is, like, because this is live, like all of the little clips and the cuts and the things this is just what they get.
All right.
Anyway,
why are you telling me that?
I'm not telling you, I'm telling them.
Okay. Good to know. So the card I pulled is Henri Matisse.
Henri Matisse. And Henri Matisse is the liberator of color. He is known for his creation of the group of the Fauvists, which means the wild beasts. He wasn't really a wild beast of sorts, but his art was really, because of the colors and the things that he put into that, was really, for the time, very influential and game-changing. So
what does Fauvism mean then? That's an art movement. You said Fauvist was wild beast. What type of art?
The wild beasts. Fauvism is the wild beasts.
Okay, but explain to me what that means as far as art.
Because they incorporated
like wild colors.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because they're using a color palette that's not necessarily pop with what was normal. They saw them as wild,
So, like, I saw in one of his pieces of art that he would use colors that really weren't the proper colors of things, and then just very vibrant.
Right. Matisse would make people purple, orange, and green, and yellow, and just vibrant, crazy colors. Things weren't necessarily like people weren't like people. They weren't like structurally the same. He would make arms more like elephant trunks, where they weren't really rigid or precise. And he became known for that, and he allowed that to be acceptable. He allowed so people that are making these later on, when pop artists started changing the colors of people's faces, from natural, normal skin tones, that was acceptable because Matisse said it was.
But it wasn't well received, right?
Not at first. I mean, like anything that's a big
Right.
changer. I mean, people
Right.
were like, what are you doing there, buddy? And then he was like, I'm just monkeying around with the colors. And then finally people are like, that's actually kind of cool. Kind of like that. Let's go with it. So that's
Staying true to himself. What I read about him, or what I listened to about him, was like, so his mom was an artist as well. Is that correct?
I don't know a lot about his mom. I didn't memorize his biography.
Well, normally you do, so I don't know why you're
not
pointing that out. But okay, so from what I understand, his mom was an artist and was the one that kind of opened up that world for him when he became sick. He had appendicitis or something like that, and he was a lawyer. Got sick with appendicitis.
He was going to school to be a lawyer. He was not a lawyer.
Okay, he was going to see. You know this, but
yeah, I don't know his mom. I don't know who his uncle was. Okay. I don't know his grandparents. I don't know what he had for Christmas. I don't know. Like, I don't know every detail of everyone's life.
No, normally you do. Okay.
I try.
So anyway,
at any rate,
according to my research,
according to your research,
his mom was the one that opened up that world to him.
When and that
he became sick, she brought him this art stuff and said, well, while you're sitting here being
and that is
lazy
true
and healing up,
that is part of his story, that he had appendicitis, and while he was recovering that's how he got into it. That him being confined to a bed was kind of the thing, and that's very consistent also with Cinco de Mayo, name, not really a namesake. That's not the right phraseology, but
I don't know where
Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo was confined to a bed for long periods of time, and that's how she got involved with arts too, and who we had mentioned previously.
That's correct. Interesting fact.
So if you like Cinco de Mayo, there's that.
There you go. What I love about his art, obviously, is his vibrant colors, but I love that in which it says in the research that I did that his mom really encouraged him to paint using his emotion, like put his emotion onto the paper. And that's why he said he used such vibrant colors and different colors and things like that. Is that true to?
I don't know.
Do you agree or disagree?
I'll go with it.
There's a lot of things you don't know today.
There's a lot of things I don't know every day.
Well, not if we were talking about something besides art, I would agree with you. But
I haven't done. I have a video that's out on Matisse. So if you search Burgher Matisse, you will find it. But a lot of times I do the research, I find the facts, and then I make the videos so I don't have to remember everything.
Well, okay, so the reason
but
why
sometimes I do. Sometimes I remember
You usually do.
Yeah.
You're just trying to be difficult today.
Well, I've spent my day in the sweltery garage moving things and sweeping things and organizing things. So,
well, I'm going to go a little off the wall here, which maybe isn't a good idea during the live chat. You can't edit me out, but the reason why I loved his art so much, like I said, was his emotion. And it makes me think of, or was him using his emotion with the paintings, right? So putting his emotion into the art. So I want to talk about this experience that I had. So my world is like health, healing, and whatnot. And art has recently, or like within the last couple of years, been commingled into my world because of therapy that I do. Okay.
Right.
So I do therapy. I meet with the therapist because I'm dealing with you every day. So
that's bound to put you.
Put
lots of people in therapy.
So I'm like having this like tightness in my chest. Like I've had it for weeks, and I'm doing a bunch of work on we're opening up this new space and we're doing a lot of painting. And so I thought it was revolving around that, but I went into therapy. I'm talking through it, and she's like, okay, I want you to get out a piece of art. Or she gets you out art paper, pastels, and
Oil pastels or chalk pastels?
chalk pastels.
Oh, very nice.
So she's like, all right, I just want you to start drawing what the feeling is. Which, if 2 years ago when she told me to do that, I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
Like, that's just crazy shit. But
you've evolved since
but
then.
I have evolved, and art is such a huge part, not a huge part, but a decent sized part of therapy. And so
Right.
I'm drawing.
Well, it can be. It can be.
It can be, but I think people aren't aware of this. So that's why I want to talk a little bit about it, because it has been very transformational for me. And it's not, I mean, it's very art related, not what you would normally talk about in your podcast.
That's okay. We can talk about it. We're live, kid.
You can't stop me now.
I cannot edit you out today. Normally, I would just say, all right, we're going to chop that little.
Yes.
Anyway.
So I just start, she's like, just start drawing whatever the pain is, whatever the feeling is in your body. I want you to draw it. I want you to put it on paper and just draw whatever comes out. So I draw it. I keep drawing. Then she's asking me to add words and put it, just whatever comes to my mind at that. So we do that, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, breathe through it, and then I flip it. So then I put how I want to feel out of it. So I draw over it how I want to feel, what I want the words to be, what I want the outcome to be. And I'll be damned if that pain in my chest that I'd had for, it was months, not weeks, not had it since.
But that, I mean, if you've got a pain in your chest, you should probably talk to a doctor.
Well, it's not, it was not in my chest. It was in like my between my shoulder blades, kind of like, I don't know. It's
like you might be having a heart attack.
Stop. Okay. You don't need to say something like that.
I'm just saying, like, if there's a person listening, like, I've got a lot of pain in my chest.
Just get out your art paper.
Just get out your chalk pastels and go to work. I mean, I don't know if that's the medical advice or any advice I would be giving people.
I am not giving medical advice. I am telling people what do I want to say?
I'm concerned for my viewers to know the difference between like a medical emergency and a little bit of stress that they can work through with some oil pastels.
This is a true story, though. I just the impact that like emotion and putting your emotion into art, and if you have a therapist that works with you also, like using that. I mean, she's obviously a therapist. She does art therapy, she does yoga therapy, things like that. And we've used art more and more. And it made me very uncomfortable in the past, but now I love it. And it is such a good tool. And if you've never heard of it, you should look it up, because honest to goodness, I have not had that come back since.
And that's maybe a little trick that people at home could even do. Like, just putting their things out on a piece of, like, they don't necessarily have
your emotions.
They don't necessarily have to see a licensed professional to do that. They could get out some things and they could put it out on the paper and they could do that same exercise, and that might help alleviate some issues.
Well, and it's just like I'm sure you've heard of this, where like you put something that negative or that's worried you or whatever, you put it on a piece of paper and you burn it and let it go. It's kind of the same thing. You just getting the emotion out of your body using art, which is a way cool tool.
It's like Frozen.
It's like Frozen.
Let it go.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we haven't even got to the.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, Matisse.
The words on the card.
So Matisse, there's the life, the works, and the inspiration on the card, which, and we use this as a way to just kind of
guide the
conversation. That it seems like the conversation is guiding itself fairly well.
Yeah.
But let's guide it a little bit more here with the card.
Well, you can choose the card. I think we talked about productivity even in pajamas.
It's productivity.
Productivity.
And we're in pajamas.
You are.
More or less.
Well, kind of. That's true.
But let's do with, well, it doesn't really matter. Unleash the Beast Within is kind of an interesting one, just from the sake that
I do like that one.
Because he was I think it's Fauvism.
Fauvism?
I don't think it's Fauvism. I think it's Fauvism.
Let's see how many times you're going to correct me today.
Well, we're
Fauvism.
probably up to 30 or 40 by now.
Probably. Okay.
But
So it's definitely a dual meaning.
right. I mean, unleash the beast within. Obviously, he's talking about the wild beasts and that sort of thing, and just allowing yourself to make what you want to make and just kind of letting it go and all of that sort of thing. Kind of like Frozen.
Yeah, there you go. Don't start singing again.
It's horrible.
It's a common theme.
But I also like the one, the productivity even in pajamas, because he was bedridden. Toward the end of his life, he was not allowed to. He had all kinds of medical issues and confined to a bed,
right?
And or a wheelchair, but mostly he was in a bed, and so he would work from a bed.
And he transitioned to a different form of art at that point.
Right. Well, he did lots of different things, but
well, it said he did a lot of like cutouts and collages.
He
right?
did. He was working mostly with collage type things, like just cut pieces of construction paper. And
so this is going to be probably a silly question for most people, but like, was that a beginning of collages? Had collages and art like that been around for a long time?
That's a really good question. Actually, collage was invented not long before that by another Spanish artist, Pablo Picasso. Cinco de Mayo. So yeah, the Spanish Cubist artist Pablo Picasso started to incorporate cutout pieces of paper into mostly newspapers into his artworks, and he would kind of glue them in and on, and
so he made that popular.
So Picasso is the one that actually developed it, and Picasso and Matisse were like frenemies, big time.
Why do you say that?
Picasso had moved just before World War II broke out. He had left Spain. He did not like that his country, his home, was being ruled by a fascist ruler, Franco. And so he left Spain. He leaves Spain and he's like, I'm going to move to Paris, which was the art center of the world. Had after World War I, the art center of the world had moved from Berlin to Paris. And so if you wanted to be an art person, you had to go to Paris. So boom, there he was. He moved to the art center of the world, and he stayed there as Hitler and the fascist Germans took over and they occupied Paris. And while he was in France, became acquainted with Matisse. Again, originally they didn't like each other, grew to become friends, and
because of a certain
I think they just got to know each other, and the rivalry. It's kind of like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, like there's that rivalry and that intensity of that competition. And as they got older, now they're like friends. It's like, competition when we're young. Now that we're older, we can just kind of be cool with each other. And I think it was kind of the same thing with Picasso and Matisse.
So did Matisse, like, was he influenced by Picasso, like with the collages?
I think they were both maybe a little bit influenced by each other. Like, I think they both did their own thing, but they both kind of impacted each other in different ways. And I think that collage is one way that Picasso not just influenced Matisse, but lots and lots of folks.
So Fauvism, what was before Fauvism, after Fauvism, or around Fauvism?
I don't know exactly what you're asking me.
I mean, like Surrealism, Impressionism. When did that fall into the mix?
Impressionism is older than Fauvism.
Okay. I was just
Uh,
you asked what I wanted to, what I was asking.
and I'm telling you exactly what you're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Impressionism is older
Mm-hmm.
than Fauvism.
Mm-hmm.
Surrealism wouldn't come until later. But Fauvism is kind of like, okay, so you have Impressionism with like Monet, and then that kind of evolves into Van Gogh. And Van Gogh and that post-impressionistic idea kind of evolves into Fauvism.
Because Matisse learned from Van Gogh, right? Or
No. I mean, he was probably influenced by
Okay,
his work,
influenced by him.
but he would not have known Van Gogh. He would not have known him.
But Fauvism was not much after Impressionism?
It would Impressionism and post-impressionism kind of butt up and overlay a little bit. But like for example, Paul Cézanne is largely considered a post-impressionist, even though he was in the very first impressionist exhibition. I got a video on it. You can watch that. Anyway, but yeah, so even though he's a post-impressionist, he was hanging out with the impressionists. He was mentored by the great Camille Pissarro, who was the master of the impressionist artists.
Sorry.
But Camille Pissarro. And then time would pass, and again, Matisse is he's after that, but it's kind of in that lineage of work.
Would you say that Fauvism was as popular or as large of a movement as like Impressionism? Or no, it was just kind of.
I mean, it was huge. It didn't have, like, for example, when you talk about Impressionism, there are American Impressionists like Mary Cassatt is probably the most known, but there are many, many others. American Impressionists, and then you had your French Impressionists like Monet, and on and on and on. And there's a good number of them, but it was kind of like a small group. It was a small club, and most of like the French Impressionists were buddies. They hung out. The roots of it were like a friendship.
Well, because they were kind of doing things different with their art, like with the what are the exhibitions or whatever that they were having during that time that were different than prior to that.
Right. Well, they had their own exhibitions because they were kind of on the outside of the salon system.
Yes, that's what it was.
But at the same time, there were also realists that were kind of infiltrating into, because Degas was a fart face, and he was kind of interjecting himself into a position of control, and he was trying to get more and more people that were like him into the show. And that reminds me, I'm been researching a lot of the story of Jack the Ripper due to the influence of my daughter Brooklyn. My oldest daughter Brooklyn said, "Hey, Dad, you got to check out this theory on who Jack the Ripper was. He may have been an artist."
Mm-hmm.
And so I watched this. She sent me this TikTok video. I check out the TikTok video and I dive into it. And not only do I find that there's a little bit of a story with Degas, but there's a couple of different artists that have a couple of different storylines that interject and intertwine into the Jack the Ripper story. And it's pretty fascinating. The number of artists, the number of theories that there are as to who the this serial killer of London was, and I'm putting together a really good video. Really,
When are
really.
you launching this Jack the
It'll
Ripper?
probably be coming out. I mean, I've got a couple that are already ready to roll. So
Oh, you're doing it as a series?
no. I mean, I've already got a couple of weeks in advance
Right.
done. So it'll probably be the end of May, June, somewhere in there where this comes out.
Okay.
Perhaps, I don't know. I might have to move some things around because it's just that good. I don't know.
What else is in the works?
I'm working on that one. I've got some pieces that are on, our travels, the videos of Grant Wood. We talked about that last week.
Yep.
Those are coming out here soon, both from the Stone City piece and the visit to the art studio.
Which we are going to do, hopefully, a more in-depth video, right?
Well,
We're
I don't know.
trying to organize that.
I don't know that we should necessarily put that out, but since this is a live video, I can't really edit it out
Why
anymore.
can you, there's nothing crazy about me saying that.
Well, we haven't really, it's not really.
We'd like to do it. We're trying to do it.
Well,
more to come on that.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things to iron out with that, but it would be, it's definitely something we're exploring.
Speaking of exploring, there's something else we can talk about too coming up. We're going to be doing more exploring because we bought a travel trailer, and we are going to, hopefully, my goal is, which I think you're kind of just along the ride for this, but podcasting at different places. So like next weekend, we're going to do some podcasting out in the.
We'll be this summer. Hopefully, we'll be able to do some different things, different locations, and so it'll vary a little bit. Our location will vary a little bit, and we'll be able to set up some different things.
And we're going to try to do some more, like incorporating different things, like we did with Stone City and Grant Woods.
Correct.
Like as we're traveling, going to different places that have to do with our history, right?
Right. I mean, I think that there are a lot of really good things that we can go and see and explore, and again, just having peace and quiet and being able to set up our stuff. And
well, but I think the cool thing is, just like I was talking about, like I didn't even know the Stone City and the Grant Wood, like I didn't even know that that was in Iowa. And I think there are a lot more of those cool places, just like what is the place that we went to in Coralville? I loved it. It was Harvest. What is it called? Where you sat in that stone chair, and we walked back to
that was outside Iowa City.
Gosh, what is that called? Now I can't remember it. But there's so many like hole in the wall places that, because they had those cool stones that they had brought in from
India,
I think it was India.
I don't remember.
I think it was India, but I don't know. I just want to find. So if you know of any cool places out there, definitely put that in.
Well, and I think that, I mean, a lot of times because of my work and your work, we're kind of geographically, we're where we're at. Not that we don't bounce out and do different things, but it is also really good that we can maybe explore some other places with travel
besides Iowa.
Besides Iowa, yeah.
You're gonna venture out with the. He was just a little bit nervous driving the new travel trailer the other
it's
day.
My truck and pulling the thing, and it's big and heavy, and a lot of weight on the vehicle, and so
all new, but all very exciting.
Well, new to us.
Well,
obviously new to us, and so it's yeah.
Why do you just keep trying to downplay it?
Well, because I think that a lot of time, like it's like, to me, like like I love talking about my kids, but if I was that person that just talked about their kids all the time, I'd get tired of hearing about it. Like I don't want to be that guy.
I don't understand where you're going with that.
Like I think it can be a little bit like I don't know. It can just be it can be a bit much.
What can be a bit much?
Just
What are you talking
like
about?
hyping up things. Like we got a travel trailer. We're gonna go do things. Like I don't know. I don't know. It's just not my. I don't get worked up about those things. I don't.
Okay.
I'm not compelled.
Not sure why you're going down that path, but
I don't. Because you asked me. You asked me a question, and I'm here to answer questions.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about it. So no, I'm not high fiving you.
Mm.
Okay, so the last segment,
the last
segment that we can talk about or dive into would be Journey into the Archives.
I thought we just did Journey into the Archives.
No, we didn't. We haven't done anything with. We talked about
forward
stuff. We talked about.
You're right. We talked about the Ask the Art guides.
Yes.
So now we're journeying into the archives.
Yes.
Journeying into the Archives, I believe, is our longest running segment, but I'm not sure.
It is? Yeah, maybe over Ask the Art Guides.
Actually, no. I'm probably wrong. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So
anyway,
what did you journey into this past?
I went into, it was about 3 years ago, and it was a kind of a short video, but called Sacrament of the Last Supper. Does that ring a bell to you?
Sacrament of the Last Supper is a Salvador Dali painting.
Correct.
And which is very appropriate because it is Cinco de Mayo.
Yes. Well, okay, so obviously Cinco de Mayo is...
Which has nothing to do with the painting at all.
Exactly. So I don't know why you really say that.
Because Salvador Dali is a Spanish artist and Cinco de Mayo is Spanish.
Okay, so the actual piece of art, Sacrament of the Last Supper,
which is
actually dive into that a little bit.
Absolutely my favorite last
like rendition of
Last Supper painting.
Why?
Because I like it the most.
Well, I know. Explain why.
Because I like it the most.
Oh my goodness. What about it do you like the most? Or why do you like it the most?
I like the anonymity of it, where like you look at Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, everybody's identifiable. They know like this is Judas and this is Paul and this is Jesus and this is in the last what's it called again? Sacrament
of the Last Supper.
Sacrament of the Last Supper. Everybody is, other than Jesus, everybody is pretty much just kind of anonymous. And so it's very surrealistic, but very realistic, very dreamlike. You see these indications of his religious beliefs as a person that was brought up as a Catholic person. Obviously, he's bringing a lot of that iconography into the work, and it really is fantastic.
How does he bring Catholicism into it?
It's just the ideas of the wine and the bread and
yeah, because he didn't have a meal. He actually just had wine and bread.
Correct.
He did not have a meal.
Which I believe the Last Supper actually, I believe that's all it was.
Was what? Just wine and bread also?
I believe so.
Oh.
I don't think the Last Supper was actually a supper. I think it was just the bread and the wine. I think that's all it was.
That's funny. Like I have all these, like I have a piece of art that was my grandparents that's out in,
that's based on Leonardo da Vinci's
right. But I guess I've never really paid attention to what the food but I am never very, what's the word? Like
Catholic?
No, I just don't look at the details of certain things. Like I can see the table, I can see the people, I can see, but like to think of what was on the table and what they were eating or drinking.
Right.
I wouldn't know, but
Right.
considering the name of the piece, I guess I thought it was food. There was more
There,
food involved than just bread and wine.
no, I believe that the Last Supper was simply bread and
I'm gonna
wine.
have to go look at the Last Supper now.
But again, it's um, gosh, what I was watching this, I can't even remember what it was, but there was somebody that was explaining a piece of artwork, and they're like, there was this object in the sky of a Leonardo da Vinci painting, so it's kind of on topic here. And there's this Leonardo da Vinci painting, and up in the sky, there's like this thing, and people were like, What is that thing?" And it could be anything. It could just be a he could have just who knows, but they're like, "It's an unidentified flying object. It's proof that there were aliens. The aliens came and
Oh
visited
my
Leonardo da Vinci."
god.
And so anyway, there's this whole thing where they think Leonardo da Vinci witnessed a UFO, and he painted it into this painting and blah blah blah.
What
Well,
painting was this?
I can't remember the
Oh,
name, and it's irrelevant.
okay.
If people really care that much, I'm sure they can Google it or something and they'll find it. But the point is that they're like, okay, well, just because you painted it doesn't mean it's true. That's not it's not like a photograph. It's not like a
Right.
video.
Right.
It's not like
You could
a
have just
you
thought
could
of something
you could
and stuck it in
literally
there.
paint anything that you want.
Right.
And so it's possible that he came up with the idea, which he did, came up with an idea for a helicopter. And he put the helicopter up in the air because that's what it was supposed to do, even though he never made it. And if he did make it, it wouldn't have gotten off the ground. It's just the point that, you know, just because it was in a painting doesn't mean that it's a historical document of fact.
Why did you start down this path?
Because you were like, well, I never really looked at what's on the table. Well, they could have put a hippopotamus on the table. It's irrelevant to what the Last Supper really was. You know what I mean?
I don't, because I really don't know exactly what. I mean, I know what the painting is, but like to know what it meant to the artist, I don't.
Well,
Do you have a video on that?
I'm lost for words. You're
What?
like this. I get in my brain. This isn't like a complicated issue.
Well, I mean, I don't know the details of like the specifics of what he put in there and
Right, but what he put in
why
there,
he put it in there.
right, but what he put in there is completely irrelevant to the fact of what it was. Like, I could paint a Martian walking through the house, but that doesn't mean it's true because I drew it.
Well, it's perception.
It's not perception. There's no fucking alien
We're
here.
alive. You can't throw out the F-bomb when we're live.
Well, I can in a heated conversation.
I'm saying in for the Last Supper. I'm not talking about. I don't know why you're getting on aliens. I'm not sure why.
Because I just brought it up that he painted it, but the fact is, I could paint anything that I want.
Yes.
That doesn't make it a historic document. That doesn't make it true.
No one said it did.
But you're like, well, I never really examined the food that's on the table. Well, it doesn't matter what food he put on the table. He could have put a 5-course meal on there. That doesn't mean that that's what they really ate. I'm just saying
I didn't pay attention to those details in the work of art, like up to this point. Now I'm going to go look at it and.
Okay, well, you go back and report to us because it doesn't matter.
It does to me. It does to me. So this rendition of the Last Supper, like, okay, so obviously
we're back to this.
Yeah, I just have a question about it.
Oh,
like, is this one at like the second most popular? Is this like?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
No,
I
because there's so many.
There are lots of Last Supper paintings. I think that the Leonardo da Vinci one is by leaps and bounds the most recognized and popular.
Right.
I would not speculate as to, it is the second most famous Last Supper
You just
painting.
chose to do this because it's like one that you.
I like the painting. I was at the Salvador Dali Museum. I don't recall if it was there. It may have been. I honestly don't remember. I think it was, but I think it was, but I don't know. It may not have been. But either way, I really like the painting.
That's why you did the video on it.
Actually, you know what? I saw it I think it's in Washington, D.C., in the Smithsonian. I think that's where it is. That's where I saw it.
Okay. I'm glad you got that.
Because I do know that I've seen it. But there's a Salvador Dali Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida, that I've been to. There's several pieces in the Smithsonian that I've seen. There are other museums that have his works and collections. And there's a Salvador Dali gallery museum in Paris that I've been to. So I've seen his work in lots of different places, and to remember exactly which one each one was at. But
now you're just kind of bragging. Like the travel trailer thing you just brought up that you didn't want me to do. Now this is exactly what you're doing. Yep.
I'm just explaining my.
No, sorry.
I'm explaining my.
Oh, I've been here. I've been to this one. I've been to this one.
I'm just saying. I've seen his.
Don't get on me about the travel trailer when you're being Mr. Bragger about all the places.
I'm not.
Whatever.
I apologize if I come across as bragging.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of artwork.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
Okay. Well, I think that's good because I think we're time-wise about ready to wrap this up.
Okay. If you say so.
Well,
you're the pod boss. You're the one that's in charge.
Damn right I am.
The time constraints.
Yes.
And we're pushing 50 minutes, so I think that's about par for the course.
We've covered some content. All right. So, well, let's wrap it up, and thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this live version of Art One-on-One.
This is kind of a disaster.
Why?
I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad.
Well, as long as the volume works or the audio works, because the very first time we did this, twice it didn't work.
Well, you can see right there at the bottom of the thing. You see that?
Well, why the hell didn't you look at that the first time we did it?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Because I don't know.
No excuses.
I have no excuses for why I didn't look at that.
Trash. Just trash. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully you have a great Cinco de Mayo.
Well, it's almost over now.
Well,
if they haven't started celebrating it by now, they're probably not going to be celebrating it. But
maybe.
I am glad that we were able to work in a few, Spanish-related things.
Artists.
Even if it was just kind of by luck.
It was a fun way to.
We should have talked more about Frida Kahlo. We should have done something more Frida Kahlo-y.
I thought you kind of would. When I asked you at the beginning, like, what does Cinco de Mayo make you think of, or who, or whatever, you kind of breezed past her. And
well, I could have spent more time talking about Frida Kahlo. That's what I should have done. Do you want to do this over again, or
no. Hell no, we're out.
Okay. Unless the audio completely doesn't work, and then you're stuck for another hour.
No. Nope. I'm finishing my wildberry margarita.
Wild. You're a fauve. You're fauve margarita.
Yes. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Hit like, share, subscribe, if you will. And we'll see you next time.
Adios.